Runway, we said when I announced it, is basically the timeline that we'll be on. Yes?
3 Pulse protesters were arrested for using chalk on the crosswalk. We know the state is trying to make those crosswalks safer. However, they say their First Amendment rights were violated. What's your reaction to that? And also now it's up to the state attorney's office to file charges against these 3.
Well, you don't have a First Amendment right to commandeer someone else's property. You have a First Amendment right to paint your own property and knock yourself out if that's what you want to do. But when you have a state crosswalk or a state road, the law in the state of Florida is now that there's not markings or that's not going to be used for those purposes. FDOT issued a memo to explain that a couple months ago. Everybody's been on notice about that. But, you know, this is kind of an instructive civics lesson here. You do not have a right to take somebody else's property for your messaging purposes. Like, that's never been what the First Amendment has said. And, you know, we just got to be clear on that. And I'd also say, you know, I've approved a lot of money for a Pulse Memorial. Where is it? Why haven't they gotten that done? A lot of money has been frittered away over the years. I think I'm certainly supportive of an actual fitting memorial for people that were murdered that day. One of the most horrific mass killings in American history. Yeah, I've approved a lot of money for that over the years. But that's not for some crosswalk. That's not to do those other things that are different from state law. So look, what I will say is this: most places in Florida, 95%, and there were other things that were marking before this bill went in. We had Blue Lives Matter, which, you know, I've been supportive of that. But, you know, we're not going to use our roads for that, right? And so hang up a flag, do what you want on your building, your house, however you want to do it. But we're not going to be doing that on our state roadways. And I think this is the best policy. I think it's just, you know, some of the stuff that was going on, you know, over the last couple years, it's just, it's too much to have this. And then what will happen is it creates safety hazards. One, people just seeing it, but then you have some people who may disagree with the message, and then they're incentivized to try to like peel out or something. Now they get held, but it's just, why are we even, you know, going down this road? So we are going to make sure that, you know, that law is enforced in an even-handed way. I don't care what your message is. Use it by yourself. You can say it. You can project it how you want on your property. You can do all the things that we've always been able to do, but just don't use other people's property to do it.
Office to file charges against.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, I'm under no illusions about the state attorney from Osceola and Orange County. I mean, I think it's likely going to be political decisions. I get that. I understand that. But the reality is our role from the FDOT's perspective, Florida Department of Transportation, is to make sure the roads remain clean. Make sure that the roads remain clear of this. We're not going to say, you know, well, you know, this community, that community can do it, but not you, not you. No, we're just going to say the roads aren't going to be used for those purposes. Now, there's Delray Beach, I think, has a hearing in Orlando today. I think Key West is tomorrow in front of FDOT. They have basically taken the position, even though the law is what it is, even though FDOT has issued guidance, that they should just be able to be a law unto themselves and do whatever they want. And look, you know, that's not the way this system of government operates. Like, we have elections, people get elected, they pass legislation. I, as governor, sign this into law. So not only do I have a right to make sure that it's enforced, I have a duty to do it. And I took an oath to discharge the office and to do all that. So they just decide they don't like the law. They want to do what they want to do. That just isn't going to fly. It is not going to fly. So eventually FDOT will be able to correct it in Delray and correct it in Key West. But I would note, a lot of other places had stuff, and once they were apprised of the new policy, they were like, fine. And they basically said, yeah, that's the law, that's the law. So it's only in certain areas where you've had folks think that they shouldn't abide by it. But most of the places in Florida have understood that. And that's with messaging that, you know, probably a lot of people in this room would be supportive of. That is not allowed either, because we're just saying that's not what the roads are for. Yes?
The mayor's office